Welcome to Bedtime Stories. The Lake of the Moon. Once upon a time, many hares lived on the shores of the Lake of the Moon. The water in the lake was healing and sacred, protected from the harsh glare of the sun and blessed by the moon's cool gaze. The hares were happy there, and they were grateful to the moon for her generous gifts. One year a drought hit the land, and all the rivers and streams and lakes dried up. A herd of elephants began to wander day after day, searching for water. They cringed at the sight of their watering holes, for these were dry as dust. They plodded for miles and miles, and when they grew too weak from thirst and hunger, they sent their scouts out in search of water. The scouts traveled far and wide, and one day they came to the Lake of the Moon. They were amazed at the sight of this fresh, full, glistening lake, and they quickly returned home to tell their comrades of their glorious find. When the elephants heard about the Lake of the Moon, their spirits revived, and with fresh hope, they talked amongst themselves. "We must go there," they told their king, and so they gathered and decided that all the elephants would travel together. "We'll bathe again," they cried. "We'll drink to our heart's content," they sighed. "We'll splash and swim and sip, gurgle and guzzle," and off they set, trundling in a great, rumbling herd toward the Lake of the Moon. When the first elephants spotted the lake, they let out calls of joy. "We've made it," they trumpeted, and they all began to run. The sight of this beautiful lake, deep and cool and glistening, thrilled them. Now the hares had appointed some of their number to guard their lake. When the hare guards saw the elephants, they hurried to warn their fellows, crying to them to find shelter. They carried smaller hares to safer hiding spots. They squealed and shouted to their comrades, "Move, hide, run." Alas, the elephants were thirsty and hot, and they were charging blindly. They paid no attention to the hares in their path. They never noticed sleeping hares and hares sitting with families enjoying the day. The elephants saw only water, and as they charged, they accidentally trampled innocent hares. When the elephants reached the lake, they plunged in and bathed and drank and swam and spouted water from their trunks. And when they climbed out, relieved to be cool and no longer thirsty, the hares began to peek out of their hiding places. The hares gathered and called upon their king. "Help us," they said. "The elephants are sure to take over our lake, and we will lose our sacred place." "Never fear," said the king of the hares. "I know exactly what to do." Of course he did, and this is why he was the king. The very next day the hare king went to visit the elephant's king. "Hello, good sir," said the hare king. "My master, the moon, has sent me here to see you. And I must give you a warning for all the elephants." "What is that?" asked the curious elephant's king. He could not imagine what sort of warning the hare had for him. "The moon is angry with you for visiting her lake. She says she will never forgive you if you do this again. If you decide you must come to her lake, she will stop shining down on you, and the sun's rays will dry up this lake, too, and nowhere will there be relief." "Ha," said the elephant's king, "I do not believe you." "Come then," said the king of the hares, and he led the elephant king to the edge of the lake. "Look there," said the hare king. "Look into the lake. What do you see?" When the elephant's king looked down, he saw the moon's face staring up at him. She looked solemn indeed. "You see that look on her face," said the wise hare. "She is plotting her revenge upon your herd." The elephant's king was alarmed. "I am so sorry, Moon," he mumbled. "I have no intention of insulting you," and he stuck his trunk into the water, hoping Moon would take hold of it in a gesture of forgiveness. But when Elephant stuck his trunk into the water, the moon disappeared. "She's gone," he gasped. "She will forgive you only if you leave her lake," said the king of the hares, and so the elephant nodded. He raised his trunk out of the water, and there, Once again the moon appeared. "I will leave now," said the king of the elephants, and he called his tribe to him, and the herd walked away, and never again did the elephants visit the lake of the moon. If you like the story, please do like, share and subscribe. Thank you for listening. Good night.